love doing that.
Part 2.
Part 2. We're here with Sue and Ellie, and I can't remember what we talked about towards the end. It was about 30 seconds ago, but...
Brain dumping you were going to go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, brain dumping, yeah, which was off camera.
It was off camera. So we got on to the brain dumping strategy, because what were we talking about?
I think I felt anxious about talking about anxiety.
It's about like when your head is just like completely full and you're just like, oh, and all this like overwhelm's building. So you literally get, I'm not obviously got like imagine you got a blank piece of paper. This is a great tool. So you just literally write everything down that's in your head, and it's, you like, don't hold back, like be as like petty and childish and ridiculous as you need to be, like, you know, swear, to call people this, whatever, just literally get it all out. I mean, for me it always includes like, you know, like appointments, I've got to do this, got to be there, got to do that, you know, then it's like, so you can just imagine it being like a big white sheet full of all kinds.
Yeah.
So then after you've kind of dumped your whole brain, done like a whole brain download, get a second sheet of paper, and you might see kind of like sections, so you might have like, so you can put things under headings in, so you've got like, say like family, work, like relationships, like myself, you know, you could all have different headers and start to put them under. So you're transferring them from the big messy sheet under into like a more organised fashion, and then after that then you look at it and you think, right, what's the next thing that needs like the most action taken on it. So, and it's like, what's the smallest action that you can do that's going to kind of like help you move forward, help you get out of overwhelm. So it's like you just choose like a couple of the sections, and then you go, right, so my first action on, say, me appointments is, you know, make a phone call to change one, or just something like that.
So is it about like getting through the list at your own pace?
It's not even getting through the whole, it's not even about getting through the whole list, because half the time, by the time you've done like the 1 or 2 actions, well, you're already kind of like needing to do another full brain download.
Right, yeah.
It's just to get you out of that overwhelmed state of like, what? Because it can make you feel really, really stuck again.
Because you're trying to remember everything, aren't you?
You're trying to remember everything and do everything, and you're going back in, you can end up going back into that animal brain. Oh God. What's going on?
That's right.
And that, your animal brain, you're either in fight mode, flight mode, freeze, or...
Yeah, because I've heard stuff about the animal one, because I've read like the Chimp's Paradox, and that like says about how, like in a fitness, like related to fitness, about how like when you're looking at a piece of cake or something, like, I need that cake, I need it right now, when really if you took time to think, you don't, it's going to make you feel worse. They just want it because like that acts on impulse and stuff, because then the other bit's like your computer, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically just
2 minutes.
I'm just trying to think of a sentence to go with it. So when you're acting on impulse, but it's just kind of like pausing and thinking about the action, isn't it? Because a lot of the time, I know for me, it's like your head's in the biscuit tin and you've had 10 biscuits, and
before I've even thought,
and you've not even, and again that can be like you're just reprogramming your triggers, so it could be like an environmental trigger that's done it. Like I always go through that same routine when I go into my mum's house, because it makes me smile, because I know it's like a pure environmental trigger from being a kid. I literally walk through the front door, walk down the hall, forget I've got a child, and go straight to the fridge. And it's just like
it's like an autopilot, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I'm like, so straight to like the biscuit drawer. What have you got?
Because I've done it before.
Is that where these are from?
No.
Have you just gone to your mum to suck these?
No, I'm not actually.
No, but I get that, especially like we're going into autopilot. Like I'll do it where like them biscuits. I did not need to eat that biscuit, but because I saw it and it's there.
How many have you had?
I've had one.
How many have you had?
I've had none, but
I've not had one either.
I've had
one.
I have only had one. I promise.
I've literally.
One.
Evidence.
But if Lorna and Nancy are watching this, that's the last one I'll have. I won't have any more.
So what we're going to go on to now?
I could just pick your brain all day, to be honest. I find it dead interesting.
Yeah, it is dead interesting.
What kind of strategies did you find, and how did fitness help you, and how did you coincide the two?
With like fitness and
mental
kind
health,
of mental health and mindset. Because it came from when I did actually start working in a gym. Obviously, I was quite early on not early on into my recovery, but I suppose kind of like only like midway through, like I was quite stable at the time. And I started working in a gym environment. I retrained as a PT because I knew how much exercise like helped me with my mental health. But it wasn't until I started doing it I realised that there's another big piece of the toolkit, which is like the mindset side of it, because I was just seeing people like smashing the goals, achieving the results, and then just still like hating themselves, talking about themselves like they were a piece of shit, moving the goalpost because what they'd achieved still wasn't good enough, and that literally breaks my heart. It really, really does. I thought, but in seeing people do that, I thought I recognised it in myself. And obviously having Erin, I thought, shit, this needs to change, because I don't want her to grow up, like seeing me basically pick myself to pieces when there's physically nothing wrong and I'm healthy and all the rest of it. And it was coming from a place of not feeling good enough, and that's what I think the issue is for a lot of people, and it kind of stems from like the mental health side of it as well. So that's kind of why I went on to coaching myself, and then kind of like use the tools and strategies alongside with fitness now. So it's not just like about, you can't do a before and after of the inside of your brain, unfortunately, and it doesn't really look very glossy on Instagram.
But how do you know when you've hit your goals, like mentally wise, you know what I mean, to be feeling better, and when you're not feeling better, because obviously it's good and bad days, isn't it?
Yeah, there is.
Things like that.
Same with your weight as well, like, you can take a progress picture, but it doesn't mean you won't go back to that first picture.
Yeah, but I mean, like, say you've got something physical to like monitor there, haven't you? Whereas like your brain health, you've got no indication of am I getting better or am I not getting better, apart from like do I feel good over the last few days, or that's the only real way, and that's perception then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but there are like a few tools that you can use to kind of like keep like a daily track of yourself, and it's kind of going off into a tangent about kind of like journaling, like going back to like recording those daily wins, like managing your pace of life, and then like awareness, like I know it's kind of a bit like woo woo, but awareness and like recognising when you start. I know with me, if I start playing out like certain patterns or being a bit snappy or doing certain things, that things aren't probably quite as in hand as they should be, so if something needs to pull back and change. So you kind of start to identify like little kind of familiar patterns of when things are heading towards like that overwhelm or that not feeling very good, and then you use like go back to, well, you've got to continually use like these tools, but it's kind of like something might have shifted, or I know I can go through spells where I'm not kind of like using like my self-care tools as much as I should be, and then that's when probably the shit's gonna like hit the fan somewhere down the line.
We probably should have started with this, but like, do you want to go like a little bit into like a bit deeper into your own sort of personal thing?
Can do.
So just obviously just like share what you want to share, but I mean like in terms of like how long it was to you feeling better. Do you know what I mean? From like how you knew there was something wrong, and then to get sorted and then feel better, and rather than like, because obviously a lot of people can sometimes see things as like, obviously you put out a lot of like positive things on Instagram and stuff, and they're going like, oh, she must have been probably last week she out, and this week she's decided now she's like the positive and stuff, and it's just like a quick fix or whatever. But it's probably worth just like, obviously anyone watching it to go, it is hard work, it is a journey.
Sorry, I got water on my face. I'll just have to edit this bit out while I sort out my
picking your nose.
Splash the water up my nose. So for me, oh God, it can go quite far back really. So I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression when Erin was 7 months old, and for a long time I kind of like just ignored the signs, and it was like, I'm just tired and all the rest of it. I don't know how I'm still married, to be honest, because I know I had the anxiety and depression, but like obviously like Liam lived it every day, of me ringing him constantly when he's at work, and obviously not knowing what he's gonna kind of come home to and things like that. And obviously there's different levels of like depression and things like that, and I always thought it was my interpretation of depression at the time was of somebody that was like rejecting the child and didn't want anything to do with the child, whereas obviously there's so many different degrees to it. It's unbelievable, and that's like another tale. So she was 7 months old, and we just moved back to Widnes, and I got a new what do you call them, like community health nurse that came out, and she was like, you know, she like noticed something, and then the reason I think I got the anxiety and depression is like I'm mega stubborn. We had a horrific time. I had an amazing birth, amazing pregnancy. I was really quite fit through my pregnancy, and then I could not breastfeed. Breastfeeding was horrific. I got loads of infections, but I felt like a complete failure because all the health workers were just like, just keep going, it'll be alright. And it was like infections, like thrush, on all kinds of medication. So I just felt like a complete failure, and it was just that failure self-talk all the time, just kind of like really built in. And obviously with like a little person like 24/7 that like you need to keep alive. So that was like not all of the reasons, but that was like a big piece of I think why it happened. So at 7 months old, went to the GP, and then I got put on tablets and asked to go to some CBT sessions, which didn't happen because you had to go to like a set time every week. And again, I think this is part of what needs to change in the system, because people can't go to set time every week.
It's like usually as well, like luckily for me, when I went CBT I was at uni, so it just luckily fell on my day off.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times just smack bang in the middle of the afternoon, so if you're struggling but you're still holding down a 9-to-5 job, then you can't
the people that are struggling with stress because they're working too much. Oh yeah, well, just to go away. It's when you're working, something else to worry about.
I don't mean to like disrespect the NHS or anything either, but it was quite laughable because it's like you've got a room of people with anxious and anxiety, and they were trying to get you to speak in front of other people and about how you feel and stuff. So I won't go into that too much, but that was fun.
So it was literally like having a bit of a double personality, and just constantly hearing this voice of like, you're not good enough, you're a terrible person, and all the rest of it. It was just like that, like non-stop. But I was pretty good at like being like happy smiley Sue and putting a brave face onto people. So by the time we got to like 7 months in, it was pretty bad. I mean, like for example, like Liam would have to come home from work, or Liam would obviously come home from work, and I'd be like, here's the baby, and I'd have to go and like in the kitchen and literally slam kitchen doors. I mean, I didn't necessarily self-harm, and won't go into that too much, but the elements of self-harm came into it as well. But like I had to just get the baby away from me and just literally go and like smash plates and slam doors. There was so much rage, it was like unbelievable. And I also didn't realise until I'm quite like introverted as well, so I used to think there was something wrong with me for wanting to be by myself, and it's actually like, as much as I love being with people and love chatting, I have to have, and even now I need to have time like on my own.
I think that's because you give so much to other people that you need that time to decompress.
I think so, but some people recharge, like they're the opposite, and they just kind of like still need to be around people, but in a different like scenario or setting or something, say like down like with the mates or a big group of friends and things. People like recharge in different ways, whereas I'm just like, no, just like let me go and sit in a field.
Yeah, but I'm the same.
Just be by myself.
I'm the same. I've said to other persons in other gym owners the same, because we put so much into other people and so much energy into people, and so like through the day I might have 50 conversations with people of like, how's your day been, is everything alright, and counselling them, and then by the time like I get home, I just want to sit there in a room and just watch like Love Island or something, do you know what I mean? And just not speak to anyone or deal with anyone. Just go right off.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you've got like, you know, an empathetic nature, and obviously I think that's obviously the case with like coaches, because obviously you've got like a big heart and you care about people. So maybe it is more of something that's with people that are in those kind of roles and things. So it was I was on meds just quickly. I was on meds for 3.5 years. Again, it was around the time I was working in a gym and seeing it with different people. I kind of realised that I'd got to like a state of being stable and okay, but I kind of, something just twigged and I was like, I want more. and like I was kind of like settling for, you know, like managing just being on like medication, because the easiest way to describe being on like meds is a bit like, imagine like, you know, like the waves of kind of like your emotions and things like that. It's obviously really good, and they serve me massively. It just kind of like compresses them all, so you just kind of like middle ground all the time. So there's no highs and there's no lows, which is obviously like the greatest place to be when you've been like for like 7 months and things like that. So and then it was again through coaching and learning about my brain, and just learning about the brain, and just kind of like why you say, think, feel, do different things, and just more about myself really, and just kind of like tuning back in. And a lot of it was removing kind of a lot of like old beliefs about myself and things like that, and that data drama things were things that weren't necessarily true, but I'd formed a little story in my head of what a terrible person I was. So yeah, then through the coaching managed to reduce the dosage down. Coaching, I suppose you could kind of put it on a par with something like CBT to, you know, kind of put it into context a little bit. And then so I was on a retreat with my first coach, and then took my last tablet while I was there, and then I haven't really, thankfully, looked back since. So that's kind of a nutshell.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, yeah. It's just coming up to like to finishing off the time as well.
Oh, cool.
Just thinking, so that's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good to see the background of it as well, to see, because I think a lot of people obviously with anxiety and depression to get to the point where they think, have I or haven't I?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
am
I just being like
because
that?
People probably really relate to what you've been saying as well and feeling.
Yeah, because you've got to have that, like, so sometimes people just think, should I just get on with it? Am I just being like a bit pathetic or?
Yeah, exactly. And God said that to myself, like, I'll be alright tomorrow, I just need a bit more sleep. But then couldn't actually go to sleep when somebody did have the baby, because I just lie there worrying about what's happened before but during that day and things like that. It was just it's insane. I mean, sleep deprivation has got a lot to do with things. Oh my God, sleep deprivation is like, I've never been good with lack of sleep, and it's like, again, it's like a massive self-care thing now, because it's like, well, if you're not getting your sleep in, then for me it's like the world's gonna end.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I need my sleep as well.
Two parents. Okay.
No. Right, we'll finish off there then.
Great, thank you.
Sue will leave all the details wherever we post this. We'll ask for the details and we'll post them in. But yeah,
Thank you for sharing that as well.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the cookies.
You're welcome. Cookies.